2026 Scorpio Love Forecast, your year of deep transformation and soul-deep connections. Picture this. It's a warm evening in late December 2026. You're sitting across from someone, and the way they're looking at you makes your heart skip. But here's what's different from every other relationship you've had. You're not scared. You're not holding back. You're not testing them or pushing them away. For the first time in your life, Scorpio, you're letting someone see all of you. The intensity, the depth, the darkness, the light, everything. And they're not running, they're leaning in. This isn't fantasy, this is your actual potential for 2026. But here's the truth. Getting there is going to require you to face everything you've been avoiding, every wall you've built, every fear you've hidden, every wound you've left unhealed. And the universe is about to take you on a journey so deep, so transformative, that the person you are in January won't even recognize the person you become by December. So take a breath, because I'm about to tell you a story. It's the story of how you go from guarded to open, from wounded to healed, from alone to deeply connected. It's not always comfortable, but Scorpio, you've never been interested in comfortable anyway. You want real, you want truth, you want transformation. And 2026? That's exactly what you're getting. The stage is set. Why 2026 is your year of emotional reckoning. Let me set the scene for you. The cosmos has been watching you, Scorpio, watching you build those walls higher and higher, watching you push people away the moment they get too close, watching you sabotage connections before they can hurt you. And the universe has decided enough. Pluto, your ruling planet, the planet of death, rebirth, and transformation, is positioned in a way that's going to shake your entire foundation. But here's the thing about Pluto. He doesn't destroy to be cruel. He destroys to rebuild. He tears down the structures that no longer serve you so you can build something real, something lasting, something true. Venus, the planet of love, is going to dance through your chart multiple times this year, each visit peeling back another layer of protection, revealing another piece of your heart you thought you'd buried forever. She's gentle, but she's persistent. She won't let you hide. And then there's the North Node, Destiny's arrow, pointing directly at your house of partnerships. The universe is literally screaming. This year is about love, Scorpio, and stop running from it. The cosmic stage is set for the most profound love transformation of your life. Now let's walk through how it unfolds. Act 1. Winter's Reckoning, January to February. Scene: a dark apartment. Our Scorpio sits alone, scrolling through old messages from someone they pushed away, the familiar ache of regret settling in their chest. January opens with a familiar feeling, loneliness that you tell yourself you chose. You've convinced yourself that being alone is safer, that you're better off without the complications of relationships, that your intensity scares people anyway. So why bother? But something's different this January. The loneliness doesn't feel noble anymore. It feels like what it is, a prison you built yourself. On January 8th, something happens. Maybe you run into an ex at a coffee shop. Maybe a friend announces their engagement. Maybe you watch a movie that hits too close to home. Whatever it is, it cracks something open inside you. You go home and you do something you haven't done in years. You cry, really cry. Not the angry tears you're used to, but the deep, soul-shaking tears of someone who's finally admitting they're tired of being alone. Scene: a journal entry dated January 10th. The handwriting is messy, urgent. I don't want to be like this anymore. I don't want to die having never let anyone truly in. This is your rock bottom moment. But for Scorpio, rock bottom isn't an ending. It's a beginning. Because you don't do anything halfway, including healing. You make a decision. You're going to therapy, not the half-hearted, I'll go a few times therapy. Real therapy, deep therapy, and the kind that's going to dig up everything you've buried and force you to look at it. Your first session is January 22nd. You sit across from the therapist, arms crossed, defensive. I don't really think I need this, you say. I'm fine. The therapist just looks at you, patient and knowing. Then why are you here? The question breaks you. Because I'm so tired, you whisper. I'm tired of being alone. I'm tired of pushing people away. I'm tired of being scared. February becomes a month of excavation. In therapy, you start digging into where this all began, the first time someone betrayed you, the moment you decided trusting people was too dangerous, the relationship that broke something in you that you thought could never be fixed. Scene: a therapy session. Our Scorpio is talking about their childhood, their first heartbreak, and the pattern they can finally see clearly now. I test people, you admit to your therapist in mid-February. I push them away to see if they'll come back, and when they don't, I tell myself I was right not to trust them. But really, I was just scared they'd leave anyway, so I made them leave first. The therapist nods. What would happen if you stopped testing people? You sit with that question for days. It terrifies you. But on February 24th, you do something brave. You reach out to someone you pushed away, not to get back together, but to apologize, to own your part, to stop blaming them for running when you were the one who pushed. The conversation is awkward, painful, healing. They accept your apology. They don't come back, but that's okay. This wasn't about them. It was about you taking responsibility for your patterns. You hang up the phone and feel something you haven't felt in years. Hope. Not hope that they'll return, but hope that you can change. Hope that you don't have to keep repeating the same painful patterns forever. Act 2. Spring's vulnerability, March to April. Scene: a dating app profile being created. Our Scorpio types and deletes, finally settles on learning to let people in, looking for someone patient enough to wait while I figure this out. March arrives with a challenge from your therapist. I want you to try dating, not for a relationship necessarily, but to practice being vulnerable with strangers. Everything in you rebels against this idea. Dating feels superficial, pointless, dangerous. But you've committed to this process, so you download the app. Your first date is March 12th. You meet them at a coffee shop, and within 10 minutes, you're already analyzing everything. Their body language, their word choices, looking for red flags, building a case for why this won't work. But then they say something that stops you. You seem really guarded. Did I do something wrong? Old you would have gotten defensive, ended the date early, blocked them later. New you takes a breath and makes a choice. I am guarded, you admit. I'm working on it. I'm sorry if I'm coming across cold. I'm actually really nervous. Their face softens. Thank you for being honest. I'm nervous too. The date doesn't lead to a relationship, but it leads to something more important. Proof that vulnerability doesn't kill you. Proof that honesty can create connection instead of destroying it. Scene: 3 different coffee shops, 3 different first dates. Our Scorpio is learning, observing, practicing this new skill of openness. You go on more dates in March. Some are terrible, some are fine. None of them are the one. But each one teaches you something about yourself, about what you want, about what you're ready for. On March 28th, you go on a date with someone who seems perfect on paper, successful, attractive, interesting. But halfway through dinner, you realize you're bored. Not because they're boring, but because there's no depth. They're not asking you real questions. They're not interested in your shadows, only your surface. You end the date politely and go home feeling discouraged. You text your therapist, who allows this in emergencies. What if no one can handle my intensity? What if I'm too much? They respond, what if you're not too much for the right person? What if your intensity is exactly what they've been looking for? April brings a shift. You stop trying to make yourself smaller, easier, lighter. As you start showing up as you are, intense, deep, complex, yes, but also loyal, passionate, and capable of profound love. Scene: a conversation with a friend. I think I'm ready for something real, our Scorpio says. Not perfect, not easy, but real. On April 15th, you're at a bookstore, because of course you are. Scorpio loves anything mysterious or psychological. You're in the psychology section, reaching for a book on attachment theory. When someone else reaches for the same book, your hands touch. You both laugh, apologize, do that awkward you take it dance, but then you actually look at each other. There's something in their eyes, a depth, a knowing, a hint of their own darkness that mirrors yours. You don't believe in love at first sight, but you believe in recognition, and you recognize something in this person. Have you read it before? They ask, gesturing to the book. No, but I probably need to, you say, surprising yourself with honesty. Same, they admit, trying to figure out why I keep sabotaging relationships. You laugh a real laugh. Well, that's the most honest thing anyone's said to me in months. They smile. Want to get coffee and compare notes on our dysfunctional patterns? Scene, a coffee shop. Two people talking like they've known each other for years. The conversation goes 3 hours without either of them noticing. That coffee date changes everything. Not because it's perfect, it's actually kind of messy. You both overshare. You both admit to trust issues. You both have walls. But there's something there, something real. You exchange numbers. You text that night. And for the first time in forever, while you're not strategizing, you're not playing games, you're not waiting 3 days to respond, you're just being yourself. Act 3, Summer's deepening, May to June. Scene, a text conversation, vulnerable messages going back and forth. Our Scorpio types, I really like you and it scares me, then actually hit send instead of deleting. May unfolds like a flower opening, slowly, tentatively, beautifully. You and the bookstore person, let's call them Alex because they need a name, start seeing each other regularly. But this is where it gets complicated, because this is where it gets real. And real means scary. On May 7th, you have your first real conflict. It's small. They cancel plans last minute for work. Old you would have seen this as a red flag, evidence they don't care, reason to pull away. In you feels all those same impulses but does something different. You call them. Hey, I need to tell you something. When you cancelled, my first instinct was to assume you don't actually like me and to start pulling away. I'm telling you this because I don't want to run, but I also need you to know that I'm working through some stuff. There's a pause. Then, thank you for telling me. I do like you. Work was genuinely crazy, but I appreciate you being honest about your reaction instead of just ghosting me, which is what usually happens to me. Scene, a realization dawning. Our Scorpio understanding that Alex has their own wounds, their own fears, their own healing to do. This is the moment you realize they're not perfect. They're not going to heal you. They have their own damage, their own patterns, their own work to do. And somehow, and that makes it more real, more possible, May becomes a month of slowly lowering walls. You introduce them to your best friend, who gives their approval. I've never seen you this open before. You tell them about your family, complicated like all families. You share your writing, your art, whatever creative outlet you use to process the depths of your emotions. And they share too, their struggles, their fears, their own history of failed relationships and self-sabotage. You're both works in progress, which means you can be patient with each other's process. Scene, late May, your apartment. You're both reading on the couch, not talking, just existing together. It's comfortable. You look over at them and think, I could get used to this. June brings the next level. Intimacy. Not just physical, though Scorpio, and we know that's important to you, but emotional intimacy. The kind where you tell them about the darkest parts of yourself and they don't flinch. On June 14th, you have one of those conversations that happens at 2 a.m. when defenses are down and truth comes out. I need to tell you something, you say. I have a tendency to push people away when I start caring about them. It's a pattern. I'm aware of it. I'm working on it. But I need you to know it might happen. And if it does, I need you to call me on it instead of just leaving. They're quiet for a moment. I can do that. But I need you to know something too. I have a tendency to become codependent, to lose myself in relationships, to give up my own needs to keep the peace. So I might need you to push back sometimes when I'm abandoning myself. Scene, two damaged people making a pact to help each other heal instead of hurt. It's not romantic comedy perfect, but it's real. You make an agreement, radical honesty. When you're scared, you say it. When you're triggered, you say it. When you want to run, you say it instead of running. It's terrifying. It's also the most secure you've ever felt. June ends with you meeting each other's families. It's awkward, of course it is, but it's also significant. You're building something, not just falling into something, but consciously building it. Act 4. Summer's testing, July to August. Scene, a heated argument. Both people saying things they don't mean, walls going up, old patterns emerging. Our Scorpio's hand is on the door. I'm ready to leave. July brings the first real test. You have a fight, a big one. The details don't matter. What matters is that in the middle of it, you feel that familiar urge. Run, burn it down, leave before they can leave you. You literally grab your keys, ready to walk out and never come back. But then you remember, when I want to run, I say it. You stop at the door. Turn around. I want to leave right now. I want to walk out that door and never come back. I want to blow this up before you can hurt me. That's what I want to do. Alex looks at you, eyes wide. Are you going to? I don't know, you admit. I'm trying not to, but I need you to understand that this is really hard for me. Staying is harder than leaving. Scene, both people sitting on the floor, backs against the wall, processing, not touching, but not leaving either. Alex starts crying. I don't want you to leave, but I also don't want you to stay if you don't want to be here. I do want to be here, you say, surprised to find it's true. That's the problem. I want this so much it terrifies me. That night, you don't solve the argument, but you don't leave either. You stay. You sleep in separate rooms because you're both still hurt, but you stay in the same apartment. In the morning, you actually talk through the issue instead of sweeping it under the rug. This is growth. This is transformation. This is what it looks like when a Scorpio learns to stay instead of sting. Scene, July 28th, a therapy session. I didn't run, our Scorpio says, still surprised. We had a huge fight and I didn't run. How does that feel? The therapist asks. Terrifying and amazing. And like maybe I can actually do this. August brings a different kind of test. Vulnerability without crisis. It's easy to be vulnerable when there's drama, when emotions are high. It's harder when everything is fine, when you're just sitting together on a random Tuesday and they ask, what are you thinking about? Old you would say, nothing, and shut down. New you takes a breath and tells the truth. I was thinking about how happy I am and how that scares me. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for you to realize I'm too much or too intense or too damaged. I keep waiting for this to end. Scene, a beach at sunset. Two people having the most honest conversation of their lives. What if it doesn't end? Alex asks. What if we're both damaged and intense and we're just damaged and intense together? What if there is no other shoe? What if this is just it? You sit with that. The possibility that this could just work, that you could just be happy, that you don't have to earn it or prove yourself or wait for disaster. I don't know how to do that, you admit. Me neither, Alex says. But maybe we figure it out together. August ends with a decision. You're going to move in together. Not because everything is perfect, but because you're both committed to working through the imperfections. It's terrifying. It's also exactly what you need. Act 5. Autumn's integration, September to October. Scene, moving boxes everywhere. Our Scorpio and Alex unpacking, bickering about where things should go, laughing about the absurdity of combining two lives. September is chaos. Moving in together reveals all the little incompatibilities you didn't know existed. They're a morning person. You're nocturnal. You need solitude to recharge. They process by talking. You're minimalist. They're sentimental and keep everything. On September 15th, you have a moment of panic. You're surrounded by boxes. They're talking about where to put their collection of vintage records, and you think, what have I done? I've let someone into my space, my sanctuary, my one safe place. You lock yourself in the bathroom and text your therapist. I think I made a mistake. They call you immediately. Talk to me. I can't do this, you say. Living together, sharing space. I need my solitude. I need my cave. I can't have someone around all the time. Scene, a therapy session via phone. Our Scorpio sitting on the bathroom floor, surrounded by moving boxes, having a breakthrough. Did you talk to Alex about this? The therapist asks. No, I just shut down and hid in the bathroom like a child. So talk to them. Use your words. Tell them you need to create a space that's just yours, a room they don't enter without permission. Set boundaries. You can live together and still have autonomy. You emerge from the bathroom. Alex is sitting on a box, looking worried. Are you okay? I need a space that's mine, you blurt out. A room where I can go when I need to be alone, where you don't follow me or ask me what's wrong. I might need a cave. You brace for rejection, for them to say this is too complicated, that you're too difficult. Instead, Alex nods. Okay, the small room by the kitchen, that can be your space. I won't go in there unless you invite me. Deal? Just like that, the panic recedes. Because they heard you, they didn't take it personally, they just accommodated your needs. Scene, October 3rd. Our Scorpio's cave, a small room painted deep purple, filled with books and candles and everything that brings them peace. October becomes about integration, learning to be together while still being yourself, learning that intimacy doesn't mean losing your identity, learning that vulnerability doesn't mean dependency. You establish rituals. Tuesday nights are separate nights. You go to your cave, they meet up with friends. On Saturday mornings, you make breakfast together. Every evening you check in. How's your heart? What do you need from me? It's not perfect. You still have moments where you want to run. They still have moments where they're too clingy, but you talk about it. You work through it. You don't let it fester. Scene, a dinner party. Friends you haven't seen in months. You seem different, someone says. Lighter, happier. Mid-October, you're at a dinner party with friends. Someone pulls you aside. I have to say, I've never seen you like this. So, open. What happened? You think about it. I stopped fighting against my nature and started working with it. I stopped pretending I'm not intense and found someone who appreciates intensity. And I stopped seeing vulnerability as weakness and started seeing it as strength. That's beautiful, your friend says. I'm really happy for you. You realize you're happy for you too. For the first time in your life, you're not bracing for disaster. You're just living. Act 6, Winter's Depth, November to December. Scene, November rain. Our Scorpio and Alex curled up together, reading separate books, perfectly content in silence. November brings a depth to the relationship that only Scorpio can appreciate. You've moved past the surface, past the honeymoon phase, into something real and solid and profound. This is when you start talking about the future, not in vague terms, but in specifics. Where do you want to live long term? Do you want kids? What are your career goals? How do you handle money? And these conversations would have terrified you a year ago. Now they feel natural, necessary, exciting even. Scene, a serious conversation about the future. Both people sharing their deepest desires and biggest fears about what comes next. On November 20th, you have the kids' conversation. You've always been ambivalent, too afraid of repeating your own childhood patterns, too aware of how much damage parents can do. I think I want kids, Alex says, but I'm also terrified of screwing them up the way my parents screwed me up. Same, you admit. I always thought I wouldn't have kids because I didn't want to pass on my damage, but I'm starting to think, maybe the fact that we're aware of the damage, that we're actively healing it, maybe that means we'd actually be decent parents. You don't decide anything definitive, but you put it on the table as a possibility instead of a hard no. Growth. November also brings a challenge from outside the relationship. Your ex resurfaces, not to get back together, but to make amends as part of their own recovery process. Scene, a coffee shop. Our Scorpio meeting with their ex. Alex waiting supportively outside. You meet them, and they apologize for their part in the dysfunction of your past relationship. You apologize for yours. It's awkward but healing. When you come out, Alex is waiting. How was it? Surprisingly okay, you say. I think I've actually healed enough that seeing them doesn't hurt anymore. That night, you and Alex talk about your respective exes, your past patterns, how far you've both come. It's not a conversation driven by jealousy or insecurity, but by genuine curiosity about each other's journeys. This is intimacy, not just the physical or even emotional, but the spiritual. Two people who see each other completely and choose each other anyway. Scene, December 15th. Our Scorpio wrapping presents, realizing they're excited about the holidays for the first time in years. December brings celebration, not just of the relationship, but of your own transformation. You look back at January, that lonely, guarded, terrified version of yourself, and you barely recognize them. On December 20th, you write in your journal, "A year ago, I was convinced I was better off alone. I'd built walls so high I couldn't see over them anymore. I'd convinced myself that my intensity was a curse, that no one could handle the depths of who I am, that vulnerability was weakness. But this year taught me my intensity is a gift when shared with someone who appreciates depth. Vulnerability is the strongest thing I've ever done. Pushing people away doesn't protect me. It just ensures I'll be alone. I can be intimate without losing myself. Love doesn't have to hurt. I am not too much for the right person. Healing is possible. I deserve to be happy." Scene, December 31st, New Year's Eve. Our Scorpio and Alex on their balcony, watching fireworks, wrapped in a blanket together. As the year closes, you're standing on the balcony with Alex, watching fireworks light up the sky. "What are you thinking about?" they ask. Old you would have said, "Nothing." New you tells the truth. "I'm thinking about how a year ago I never could have imagined this. Being this happy, this open, this safe with someone. And I'm thinking about how grateful I am that I didn't give up on the possibility of love, even when it felt impossible." Alex pulls you closer. "I'm grateful you didn't give up too. I'm grateful you took the risk. It was the scariest thing I've ever done," you admit. "Worth it though." You look at them, really look at them, at this person who's seen your darkness and didn't run, who's learned your patterns and helps you break them, who's built a life with you, not despite your intensity, but because of it. "Yeah," you say, "completely worth it." The fireworks explode above you, and for the first time in your life, Scorpio, you're not bracing for the inevitable ending. You're just enjoying the moment, present, open, loved, the transformation, before and after. Let's talk about who you were versus who you've become. January. Scorpio, walls so high nobody could climb them. Tested everyone to see if they'd leave. Pushed people away before they could get close. Confused intensity with toxicity. Thought vulnerability was weakness alone and convinced it was safer that way. Sabotaged every potential relationship. Carried wounds from the past into every present interaction. December, Scorpio. Walls that have doors. You choose who enters, communicates needs, instead of testing leans in even when scared, shares intensity as a gift, practices vulnerability as strength, intimate and surprisingly okay with it, fights for relationship instead of against it, healing wounds actively so they don't infect the present. The transformation isn't about becoming less Scorpio. You're still intense, still deep, still a little dark around the edges. But now you've learned to share that depth instead of drowning in it alone. The Love Lessons 2026 taught you Lesson 1. Your intensity is not too much for the right person. You spent years dimming your light, apologizing for your depth, warning people about your darkness. But the right person doesn't need warnings. They appreciate exactly who you are. Lesson 2. Vulnerability requires more courage than walls. Any coward can build walls. It takes a warrior to stand open and exposed and say, "This is me, all of me, take it or leave it." Lesson 3. Healing is not linear. Some days you're enlightened and evolved. Other days you're triggered and reactive. Both versions of you deserve love and patience. Lesson 4. You can be intimate without losing yourself. You were so afraid that love meant sacrifice, that partnership meant giving up your autonomy. But the right relationship expands you. It doesn't shrink you. Lesson 5. Communication beats strategy every time. All those games you used to play, waiting to text back, testing their interest, playing hard to get, they were just barriers to real connection. Honesty is scarier, but infinitely more effective. Lesson 6. You don't have to fix yourself before you're worthy of love. You kept thinking, "Once I heal, then I'll be ready for relationship." But healing often happens through relationship, not before it. Lesson 7. The right person will meet you in your depths. You don't need someone who pulls you out of your darkness. You need someone who's willing to sit in the dark with you until you're ready to find the light together. On what you'd tell January. Asi, if you could go back to that lonely apartment in January, here's what you'd say. I know you're scared. I know you've been hurt so many times that staying closed feels like the only safe option. I know you've convinced yourself that your intensity is a curse, that no one will ever be able to handle all of who you are. But here's what I need you to know. This year is going to break you open in the best possible way. It's going to hurt. You're going to want to run about 1,000 times. You're going to test Alex in ways that are unfair. You're going to sabotage things at least 12 times before you learn to stop. But you're also going to discover something incredible. You're capable of the kind of love you've always craved. Deep, real, transformative, our intense love that doesn't destroy you. It completes you. That therapy appointment you keep putting off? Make it today. That's where this journey starts. When you meet Alex in the bookstore in April, don't overthink it. Just say yes to coffee. Say yes to the second date. Say yes even when every instinct screams to run. When you have that first big fight in July, stay. Don't grab your keys. Don't walk out. Stay and feel the discomfort of working through conflict instead of avoiding it. When they ask you to move in together, say yes. Even though it terrifies you, even though you'll have panic attacks in the bathroom, even though you'll need your own space. Say yes anyway. And most importantly, be patient with yourself. You're not just learning to love someone else. You're learning to love yourself enough to believe you deserve to be loved. That's the real transformation. The Scorpio you are right now, guarded, wounded, alone, is not the Scorpio you have to be forever. Growth is possible. Healing is real. Love exists. And you, with all your intensity and depth and darkness and light, are absolutely worthy of it all. The plot twist, what this was really about scene. Our Scorpio alone, journal open, writing a final reflection. Here's the thing about this story, Scorpio. You thought it was about finding love, about meeting the right person, about Alex. But it was never really about them. This was a story about you falling in love with yourself, about you learning to sit with your own intensity without drowning in it, and about you discovering that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the strongest thing you've ever done. Alex didn't save you. You saved yourself. You did the therapy. You faced the wounds. You stayed when every instinct said run. You opened when everything in you wanted to close. Alex was just the mirror that reflected back your own capacity for love, the proof that when you show up authentically, the right person will appreciate exactly who you are. The real love story wasn't Scorpio meets Alex, it was Scorpio meets Scorpio. The wounded version meeting the healing version, the closed version meeting the open version, the afraid version meeting the brave version, and all those versions learning to coexist, to have compassion for each other, to understand that you don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love. Epilogue. New Year's Day to 2027. Scene. Morning light streaming through windows. Our Scorpio wakes up next to Alex, watching them sleep for a moment before getting up. You slip out of bed quietly, making coffee in the kitchen of the apartment you now share. You're thinking about the year ahead, 2027, and what it might bring, but you're not anxious about it. You're not trying to control it. You're not building walls to protect yourself from potential pain. You're just open to it, whatever comes. Your phone buzzes. It's your therapist, a scheduled check-in message. How are you feeling this morning? Any reflections on the past year? You type back, I feel peaceful. A year ago, I was so afraid of losing myself in a relationship that I wouldn't even let myself try. I've learned that the right relationship doesn't make you lose yourself. It helps you find yourself more clearly. I'm still Scorpio, still intense, still deep, still a bit dark. But now I know that's not something to hide or apologize for. It's something to share with someone who can appreciate it. Thank you for helping me get here. Alex wakes up, shuffles into the kitchen, wraps their arms around you from behind. Good morning, they murmur. What are you thinking about? You smile, leaning back into their embrace. I'm thinking about how much can change in a year, how different everything is, how different I am. Better different, they ask. You turn to face them, cupping their face in your hands. So much better. Terrifyingly, beautifully. I completely better. Final scene. Two people kissing in the morning light of their shared home. The camera pans to a wall where a framed quote hangs. And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. Anais Nin. The story doesn't end here, Scorpio. This is just the end of chapter 1, the chapter where you learned that love is possible, that vulnerability is strength, that you're worthy exactly as you are. The chapters ahead will bring new challenges, new growth, new depths to explore. But you're ready for them now, because you've learned the most important lesson. You don't have to face anything alone anymore. Not because you need someone to complete you, but because you've finally allowed yourself to be completed by your own courage, your own healing, and your own capacity for love. And that, dear Scorpio, changes everything. So, Scorpio, what resonated with you in this story? What part of the journey are you on right now? Are you still in the walls up phase? Are you in therapy working through old wounds? Have you met your Alex? Are you learning to stay instead of run? Drop a comment and let me know where you are in your love journey. Share your story, your struggles, your breakthroughs, your fears, your hopes. This community is a safe space for depth, for truth, for transformation. And if this story touched something in you, if you saw yourself in it, if you're ready to write your own love transformation story, show some love with a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. Your 2026 love story is waiting to be written, Scorpio. Oh, and trust me, it's going to be deeper, more intense, and more beautiful than you ever imagined possible.